Meditation is all about catching your mind. It's about catching your mind. It's like catching the wind. It's like catching the light that shines invisibly through everything and only reflects off things. We can only see things, but we don't see the light. So it's that difficult to catch your mind. On a deep esoteric level, theosophical, Theosophy of the Rosicrucian, anthroposophical, Tibetan Buddhist really, and Hermetic, Neoplatonic. There's a stillness mind that is active and passive. There's a stillness within us that's active in the sense of waiting, awaiting a perception or novel insight, a revelation, an integrative capacity to interact. There's a passive mind that is stillness in anticipation, prajna trying to grasp the empty openness of what's going on. There's an active mind that's trying to grasp what's going on. There's a receptive, passive mind. I mean, these are just words. I mean, passive, it isn't really passive. It's inwardly listening for something deeper or bigger or more novel or more true or more loving and compassionate. There's something that's listening and there's something that's trying to re-grasp a situation. This is different than ego grasping. This is a wish to know the truth. So the biggest problem, I think, with active meditation is catching your mind. We get angry or irritated. We get slighted. We feel offended. We feel somehow that our sense of self isn't being treated fairly, or that we want more, that we're being treated fairly, but we wish to have more or have less of something. We're attracted to or repulsed by something. Nothing is wrong or bad, you might say. The problem is like catching your mind so that you kind of know you're angry. It's not bad to get angry, but we usually don't know we're angry till it's way too late. We can be interacting with somebody and thinking the craziest thoughts underneath our outer mind. So perhaps part of meditation that is active, moving meditation versus unmoving meditation. Again, unmoving meditation is letting go of the breath, or breathing a deep breath within and emptying our perception into our heart. Stillness meditation is learning to be still. Learning to listen with our heart, to listen with our let go, to quietly listen to the quiet and stillness within. Stillness looking at stillness. Plato calls it the flight of the alone to the alone. And we usually don't know we're still until after we come out of the stillness. So this is a very interesting quality of the human mind, the human heart mind. That we have this possibility of listening to our stillness at the same time, simultaneously. We're witnessing or quietly observing the world that's forever moving and changing. It's kind of like, do you ever see those pictures of the double-headed eagle? I think they have that image as the double-headed Janus of the turn of the year, the past and the future. In a lot of ways, the future is the stillness that's within us that has not yet come to light. And everything that we see around us that's coming at us, or we're going toward it, or we're temporarily holding each other's position, everything that we see outside of us is like the stars, it's like the past coming at us. Everything outside of us is the past coming at us, and everything inside of us is the future yet to be seen. The primordial mind, the spiritual darkness, the dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul of St. John of the Cross and others is really our attachment to things and sense of self, inner or outer attachment. Because the dark night of the soul is really a primordial stillness. It's the cosmic, great mother womb of the universe, the radical stillness and darkness, is a peace that passes understanding, that transcends logic. It's like letting go of our breath and then breathing in and emptying our perceptions in our heart, so that we're in stillness, we're seated in stillness in our heart. The stillness watches the stillness of our inner twinkle, our inner quietude. At the same time that we're watching the world, that we're interacting with the world. So we might get angry, and we can kind of notice that we're starting to get angry. I mean, the beginning of anger is that we're starting to judge situations of what's good and bad. A lot of people have an opinion and a judgment, a conception or a perception, if you wish, of what's good and bad and right and wrong and what's going on. But pretty much 99.9% of our judgments and perceptions, our analysis, is pretty impotent about predicting what will happen next, or influencing. I mean, even better, how can we creatively interact and make everything better, happier, more vibrant, deeper rooted, secure, flowering with happiness, intelligence, wisdom, compassion. For the most part, all the judgments we see about the world around us are pretty impotent about doing anything about it. And I think that everything I say is like in hopes that it will give you some insight, give us some insight as to who I am and where I've been, where I am, where I'm going, who I am. And I think it's useful in kind of like I have an old acquaintance, Matthew Fox, fellow friend of David Spangler from Finhorn Gardens, good friend, who talks about the path of negativa, the path of creativity, I guess I'd see it as pulling weeds. When you meditate, you pull all the weeds, you pull all the negatives, you pull all the crazy stuff you're thinking. I mean, you decide that for 3 to 5 minutes, I think 3 to 5 minutes a day of meditation is really good if you do it all the time. And the first step is the path of negativa, that we try to empty ourselves into a stillness, a willingness to learn. Rudolf Steiner points out that like for instance, you're listening to what I'm saying, but whether I'm right or wrong or it's good or bad, the fact that you can listen is that you hold still and you listen. You're kind of like selfless for a second. If I'm listening to you, listening right now, I have to be very still and selfless. When we give ourselves in love, we give ourselves in charity or work. I mean, the whole hope is that we can empty ourselves to be open for something true, truer, more capacity, more understanding, more generosity and openness. So the path of negativa is to pull all the weeds. I mean, the idea of gardening is you pull all the weeds. And after you clear the ground and pull all the weeds and till the soil, it's like tilling the soil. Pulling the weeds is you stop thinking and you rest in your heart and you just stay alert. If a bell rings or noises sound, unless it's important, it just goes through you. And tilling the soil is letting go, like turning over your thoughts and your feelings, and you create this time to meditate. And when things come up, you say, okay, that's a feeling, that's a name, I'll call them later. But at some point you have to plant the seed. So there's meditation without seed, consciousness without object. And I think that stillness is hugely important, hugely important. People say that you can't teach emptiness, and that when you actually teach emptiness, I mean, the Tibetan way is that where there's no separation, there's no independent arising, there's no separate self, that all suffering is caused by acting out of separate self. I mean, this is the egotism trip. There is an ego that's a reincarnating golden thread through all the beads of life, all the moments of life, all the years. And yeah, there's something that keeps going on. At a microcosmic level, there's some part of you that keeps looking again. You can only listen so long to anybody, and you think your own thoughts, and you go within, and you look around at the bigger world. And then you look again. There's some part of us that keeps looking again. And there's some part of us that can't hang on to any thought or feeling, and it disappears or changes into something else. What is that which allows duality to exist simultaneously? What is that stillness or space that allows all your different thoughts and feelings and all your ups and downs? And that space keeps digesting and distilling. That stillness distills your experience into insight, wisdom, ever-growing capacity, digestion of your experience, openness to new experience. And in this light, until the world's enlightened, may I keep learning. May I keep growing. May I keep emptying into a stillness that has greater capacity to hold whatever you're going through and help you, help the friend, the neighbor. So the path of negativia is emptying. The path of creativity is when we see our connection to the greater world within and without. We see the spiritual rules or laws, like in the Kabbalion book, or Light on the Path, or the Voice of the Silence, or the Bhagavad Gita that Gandhi read. The theosophical literature, the Hindu, the yoga, the Patanjali's Yoga Aphorisms is the first book on yoga. And the first rule is to kind of show up, be here now, right now, listen now. And the second rule, which is really the first rule, is that yoga, or concentration, is the ceasing of the modifications of the mind. In other words, yoga, or finding true union with truth, self, other, love, is at first, in alchemy they would call it like St. Mary's bath. At first you have to be kind of empty of yourself. Empty, open. You're still here, but your space that's awakened. They say that the difference between Buddha and me is that Buddha has his space awakened. And I think that space awakening is that we go and sit in the stillness it looks like negativity at first, but it's really, when you first start meditating, I remember when I first started meditating, it was such a chore. I mean, I had to say, oh my God, I have to meditate now. I have to stop this ever-moving current that I have no control on until I started to notice it, that I kept having new thoughts and I had no control on those thoughts. I couldn't stop them. I couldn't hold one thought. We can't hold one thought or no thought for milliseconds. When you can hold one thought or no thought for 3 minutes, you're finally getting there. That's why I suggest 1 to 3 times a day that we meditate and that we sit up straight comfortably. Sit comfortably, but sit up straight so the spine is interacting with the earth and the star above your head. There's a sense of vertical. We sit up straight and we let go of our breath, or we listen to the sound of the breath in the throat. Like wind, you know? You just listen, you can hold your ears closed for a second and listen to the sound of your breath through your throat. And that kind of slowly but surely weaves your head and your heart together. The head and heart are two wings of the soul. When the head and heart weave together with the breath, we can rest deeper in the stillness of our soul, in the spirit of the world, in the spirit of our inner self, the spark of the spirit of the sun, what people call the Hermes or the Christos, the Mithras, the Krishna, the Christ, the true self, the I am everything and nothing, and yet still here to look again. Be here now. The power and blessing of the now is that I can sit still now and know that the present, the heart of the present, is a child of the past and the mother and father of the future. It can help one overcome fear and anxiety and craziness that comes when we worry about the future or worry about the past, that we're not able to digest the past. We can just be present and straighten out and beautify the room we're in now, or straighten out and beautify our own thinking and feeling. The room we're in right now is our body. The body of the body of feelings and thinking, the body of holding others, the world around us. So meditation is moving and unmoving. I think most of us lack the stillness meditation of the unmoving. Like just like in the I Ching, there's the moving lines and the unmoving. They can kind of come together at a certain point. But in alchemy, you separate the gross from the subtle and purify the gross and purify the subtle by discerning its true nature. And then there's a reuniting. There's a reuniting of the moving and unmoving at some point in the meditation. The moving meditation is learning to catch yourself and divine the divine in everything you see around you, within you. We see another person, whether they're good or bad or angry or beautiful or compassionate, whatever we think about them, we try to suspend that. And we look at imagining that we divine the divine in them, which is the stillness and the spirit of the sun spark, the spark of the spirit of the sun, which is like, the Christos, for lack of words, We have these words for it so we can talk to each other right now. But the words are just like reading a menu at a restaurant. You want to have the experience. You want to think and feel and have the experience. And bring that into your stillness. To cook it, bake it, sleep on it, digest it. It's like when you cook food, it looks different than when you put all the ingredients in and mixed it up. There's consciousness There's meditation without seed or consciousness without object, and there's a distillation of emptying. But there's also, when one's empty, meditation with seed or motivation. And that motivation, that's the simplest that I know, is that I wish I had enlightenment so I can help all those who suffer. One can practice letting go of one's breath. And as I breathe in, I ride the breath. The breath is the wind horse, and I ride the breath. I wish I had enlightenment so I could bless all those who suffer. So I wish I had enlightenment as the in-breath. And then I look at the stillness. I imagine that I'm sitting in the space and making a turnaround, the turning point. I wish I had enlightenment, and as I breathe out, I look at the stillness and the spark of this sun. The sun is like love and truth and blessing and goodness and true beautiful. The spark of the sun is the child of the stillness. Or is the stillness the wisdom of the spark of the sun? These are mysteries that I've taken a long time trying to figure out, like owning a bookstore, Mayflower Bookshop. I took a long time studying every religion, every philosophy, and every science. And I realized that science can't save us, and a gun can't save us, and money can't save us, and all these things can't save us unless we show up on how to properly use all those things, how to properly be in relationship to everything around us. And to be in relationship with everything around us, we need the stillness. My stillness needs to understand your stillness. We need to understand how to protect each other's solitude and how to interact in a sacred way. Stillness to stillness. Holy to holy. Light to light. Truth to truth. To a large degree, the stillness within each other is the door to the truth. And the cognitive world soul, consciousness soul, that experiences or enters into the stillness or knocks on the door of stillness or emptiness of our inner space, the calm, abiding space equanimity of the Tibetan Buddhist. Rudolf Steiner's emptying the perception into the heart. I say the space of the heart. And that knocking on the door, the consciousness soul, the sacrifice and purification of the sentient soul, the education of the intellectual soul, and the world responsibility, the ability to respond to the world within and without, knocking on the door of the silence. The consciousness soul knocking on the door awakens the spirit self. What Theosophy calls manas. And that manas, to be true, is intimately connected to the buddhi, the life spirit of anthroposophy, to compassionate, loving kindness with the whole world. The Buddha manas, according to the compassion and awareness, according to H.P. Blavatsky in her Key to Theosophy, is the more eternal self, is the reincarnating ego, the golden thread that weaves through every bead on the mala or rosary, every moment, every lifetime, every year, And so there's this moving meditation and this stillness meditation. And the moving meditation on the negativa level is catching yourself getting angry or judging. Subtle anger is judging that somehow you're better and you're going to survive and you know what's good and you know it's true. But it's kind of impotent. You can't really help anybody, or they're not listening to you. We might say that they're not really listening to me, and that's why they're in the trouble. But it doesn't really help them. See, the point I'm making is that if we're not able to really make things better, we have to go back to school. And going back to school, in my mind, is this relative balance between work and play and study and meditation. Sacred space within the bedroom, sacred space within the bathroom or the bath, sacred space in the kitchen, sacred space in the workroom, sacred space in the relationships and work environment, in the shopping environment, in the selling environment. That we dispel crass materialism when we see the thinking in things. Where it came from, where it's going, did it pollute or hurt the world when it was made? How's it being used now, for what purpose and intention? Where does it go when its life ends, because everything's impermanent? In that respect, it's really grateful it's really wonderful to read Odyssey to Freedom by Gelik Rinpoche, an old friend of mine who passed into the spiritual world. He's with jewelheart.org. There's Debbie there, Hartmuth. There's a lot of my friends are at Jewel Heart, and you can learn about Tibetan Buddhism from many people there. They have lamas come through. And you can find out about Rudolf Steiner's study house and his activities in Ann Arbor on Getty's Road, the Anthroposophical Society in America. Or you can find out about Theosophy in the Theosophical Society in America in Wheaton, Illinois, the Theosophical Society in Berkeley, Michigan, the Theosophical Society in San Diego or Los Angeles with the United Lodge of Theosophists. There's so many places you can go. There's a Self-Realization Fellowship. There's Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda ashrams. There's Vedanta. There are so many interesting places to go. There's a Divine Pymander of Hermes, and there's Alexander Wilder, his books on Neoplatonism, he helped Blavatsky write The Secret Doctrine, Isis Unveiled, that led to The Secret Doctrine. And Alexander Wilder was a good friend of H.P. Blavatsky. But when it comes to people like Rudolf Steiner and Blavatsky, and myself for that matter, study everything. Study everything. And see if it helps you be a better person, cuts down on negativity, increases positivity. Study everything and see if it helps the world be a better place. See if you can get results. In the higher yoga, Vajrayana of Tibetan Buddhism, the idea is to get results and to become Christ-like or Buddha-like. In real Christianity, we become Christ-like. Jesus says, do you not know you're gods in the becoming? And this rivals the Tibetans trying to help you become a Buddha. See, it's a different thing. When we just go to church all the time, or temple, or a meeting place, or a restaurant. A new church is the bar, right? Where you hear music and you hear conversations and sometimes you hear talks. I think on a practical level, it's the music venue and the sports venue, and the altar is the TV set is on it and the computer. We need to have a break from the external world of electronics, computers. It's really good to have a bedroom that's free of electrical devices and wires that are within 3 or 4 feet of your body, especially your head. It's really important to try to have clean water and to eat grains and greens and to eat foods that are more naturally grown and less chemicals. The chemicals and pesticides are really a problem. It's killing the bees, the honeybees. There's huge political, social problems. And I didn't mean to trip out on that at this moment. I just wanted to point out that true spirituality is inseparable from social mores and justice. It's inseparable from inner development and spiritual development. Like the Beatles said, life goes on within you and without you. And life just goes on within you and without you. So I think that's like really in the theosophical, anthroposophical terminology, Hermetic Christology, there's 7 earths and we're in the 4th. And we're in the most densest materialistic world we could live in the Kali Yuga. In the late 1800s, we possibly made a turning point And there's more light than darkness now, but the light, I mean, we have enough light where we start to see there's a huge amount of problems and nobody knows what to do about all of them. And so meditation is the beginning. Meditation is the beginning of a true spiritual lifestyle where it's just you alone. The word alone is also all one. It's you alone with God and the universe. And we try to settle down into the seat of our heart. The seat of the soul is in the heart. And the heart is the seat of the soul, and the soul is the seat of the spirit. The spirit actually is within you and without you. We need the pilot and the co-creative, the co-pilot. And that is the heart and mind. That's what Rudolf Steiner goes into in the Foundation Stone Meditation that I talk about in other talks. And if you can suffer it, The Voice of the Silence. You should get that book. I'm recommending it. I mean, I'm saying you should do it, but I'm leaving you free. I mean, I have a really strong, intense insight and opinion, you might say, based on a lot of experience and hanging out with a lot of spiritual teachers, so-called, or friends, spiritual friends, Dalai Lama, old mentors in Theosophy and Rudolf Steiner, yoga, a lot of people from India, Tibet, a lot of elders from the Jewish mysticism and Hermetics and Theosophy. But who cares? Who cares about one's credentials if there even is such a thing? Everything is really about what we can do today and what can lead us into a better tomorrow. And so this is why this talk here, this 33 minutes of sharing ideas, and please send me your questions or let me know what worked for you and what didn't work and what you want more clarity on. A lot of times when I'm making up these little talks, I'm doing it because of what I see around me and what people are asking me. So I'm Robert Thibodeau of Mayflower Bookshop, Robert of Mayflower, mayflowerbookshop.com. And also I have, besides the website, mayflowerbookshop.com, you can find me on YouTube with lots of talks and music. I make a lot of music. Feel free to donate books or whatever, money, to help support these series of talks. And be happy and be you. And don't let the phones interrupt you. Create a space for meditation where every day you meditate for 3 to 5 minutes. It's like meditation should be like being kissing. It gets really good and you stop so that you'll go back to it. And may we be friends until the whole world's enlightened. May we be friends. May we help each other get over our idiocy and our lack of literacy. May we be purified of our desires and fears. I mean, I think egotism is the... fear is the excuse of egotism. The more we have desires for stuff and we don't think we have enough, the more we don't want to meet ourselves. The more we have a desire for something outside of ourselves, the more we feel separate. And I think that fear is not only a lack of love. Fear is an ego trip that avoids us from growing and sharing in the world around us and letting the world around us influence us. Understanding karma from many lifetimes and the collective karma of our fathers, mothers, mothers, and the karma of the world around us that's ever-changing time spirit. To be able to pay up our dues of karma and to enter into the world of dharma. By creating the new, the old is composted or destroyed. And by creating the new, where's the new? The new is yet to be seen. It's in the silence. So when we could create silence for ourselves, we actually are tapping a gold mine. We're tapping a holy, holy, sacred, most holy, sacred, pure environment of stillness where we can imagine anything. And the job is not to imagine. No vision, no voice. Meditation is not... the beginning of meditation 101 is that nothing's happening. And I'm still aware. I'm still here. So I hope that each of us can meditate. I wish I had enlightenment so I could bring peace and loving kindness to the world, happiness to the world. May I get enlightenment so I can help all those who suffer. May I find peace and joy and enlightenment within myself. Because unless we have love, we can't give love. Unless we have peace and stillness, we can't help other people be peaceful and still. And people are so addicted to so many medications and noises and weird foods, and people can't stop talking and they can't stop thinking. They can't stop feeling long enough to discover the God within, the virtue within. You know, there is no God unless we prove it by the way we live. And the knocking on the door of God or goddess or virtue or our higher self, our happiness, is learning to be still and know. So to that end, everything has a beginning, has an end. And so I bid you adieu. I hope that this has helped you. Feel free to share, donate, ask another question, and dare to know, dare to learn, dare to experience your wholeness and your holiness within your own quiet. Awaken stillness and the spark of life. Bless your heart. This is Robert of MayflowerBookshop.com. I'll talk to you again.